me get a mic here so y'all can hear me and I don't strain my precious little vocal cords. Here's Petaluma. Hello, Petaluma.
I am.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you on my phone, but we can't hear you coming out. Oh, here we go.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, by about 30 seconds. Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Everybody say hi to Petaluma. Everybody in Petaluma scream at us, although we'll not be able to receive it because it's a two-way transmission. Not so much.
In about 30 seconds, they're going to say hi.
Okay, great. Talk to you soon. Bye. All right.
Hi, we are situated and ready to go.
All right, they're situated in the library. Say hi to the people in the library. All right, we ready to rock? All right, we're doing this. Shh, don't say that on television. All right, boys and girls, moms and dads, welcome to Speech Night. Woo! Thank you so much for supporting it. I know you are here because of altruistic means. I know you are here because of a desire to expand educational opportunity. Has nothing to do with extra credit, right? No, of course not. Of course not. This obviously is a rather unique semester. I've been teaching here. This is my 24th year, and this is the most surreal semester I've ever experienced. I am glad that you are all here. I hope that everything is going well with you and evolving. As they say in German, was mich nicht zerstört, macht mich stärker. What doesn't destroy me makes me stronger, right? And you have had the opportunity to go through hell and back, and I'm just so glad that you're here, and I wish all of you the best in dealing with what life has obviously dealt from the bottom of the deck. This is Speech Night. And each semester, the speech and debate team put on a showcase to let you all as the public kind of see what we're doing out there. This semester, the speech team, despite having logistical difficulties and being able to attend tournaments because of the fire and some other challenges, is currently sitting at #1 in the nation for parliamentary debate teams. We are not only the #1 community college in the nation as far as sweepstakes points go, we also have the #1 pair in the nation for community colleges. Clap for them. We are the only community college with 2 teams in the top 20 for all open division of the 400 or so, including Air Force Academy and Berkeley and all those other people. Only CC with 2. Yay. And so they've worked really hard and really well. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to be giving you sort of a smattering that's a little bit different than any of the speech nights that I've participated in going back 11 years. Tonight, we are featuring students that are in their first semester of performance. I don't know what that was. Can you see why I was cut from the sports team? I don't have, there's really not, as I've said in my classes, there's not a whole lot going on from the neck down. It's just like not really coordinated. We are having and featuring first semester students. So our debaters that you're seeing tonight came to us without ever competing intercollegiately, and they are pretty much ready to rock the house tonight. We are also going to have a series of individual events, some of whom have entered and succeeded in competition, some of whom are actually pulled from Susan Houlihan's classes to be able to show you what a good informative looks like that can eventually be groomed into a performance for intercollegiate competition. So before I turn this over to the people that are actually the real show tonight, I have to make a couple of thank yous. First off, we have an esteemed guest here tonight, Mr. Michael Traina, President of the Department of Communication Studies. Michael. Oh, hell. I'm God for tonight. I'm going to make you president of the college. Dominoes for Biscos. When you forget us all of your dominoes, and there you're fine to the president. I do want to, though, in case I get fired tomorrow, thank the real president, Dr. Chong. Round of applause for Dr. Chong. And Mary Kay. Clap for Mary Kay. Clap for our Dean Carey. And I also want to call out a special thanks to Mark Nelson and Susan Houlihan, my co-directors here. Clap for Mark and Susan. Clap for Debbie because she's married to Mark. And I would like to also thank Karen Hackett, who took our team to Berkeley this year because I couldn't see. Oh, Cornwall, damn. Oh. Clap for her. All right. So I think I've thanked the dean and the president, the vice president. You all know why you're here. I've bragged on the team because they're like hella good. I think we're good. Oh, one other thing. In case any of you, and there may be one or two, who are here for extra credit, like raise your hand if you're here for extra credit. I see one hand. Oh, there's two of you. There you go. There are going to be sheets with your instructor's name taped to the inside glass of the lobby area after the performance. So what you do is you simply look for Houlihan 1030 exotic horticulture care of whatever, and then sign up that, or Susan Houlihan interpretation, or Mark Nelson argumentation and debate. Okay? We all clear on that? You ready to go? Ready to have some fun instead of listening to me just yap, 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 yap? Also, I want to thank you as students because I have the best job in the world. I did go 24 years without a sick day, and I missed 5 weeks this semester because of my eye issue, and I got to tell you, I missed all of you dearly. I have the best job in the world. You're the best students in the world. I love Santa Rosa Junior College mostly because of you, the students. So thank you very much, and I'll turn to the MC.
Have fun, kids.
Does this one work? Cool. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to the Santa Rosa Junior College's speech night. We'd like to thank you all for coming. This is such a great event, and it really alleviates the stress that we put on students that this event, or that speech and debate cost, because let's face it, we all know that as students, we're like pretty notoriously poor, myself included. For anyone out there that might not know me, obviously, you've never been on YouTube before, but that's okay. My name is Joe Biscard, and I have 4 subscribers on YouTube, 3 of which are not my mom. So let's clap for me. Yeah, that number is ever growing, and you can subscribe to me if you want. Your other MC tonight, though, the person to my right who kind of looks like we kidnapped him off of the set of That 70s Show, this is Elliot Jacobs.
I'm Elliot. So, both Joe and I and everyone else you will see perform tonight, as said by Hal, this is our first semester, so we are newbies, and you will see what newbies can accomplish. Woo, yeah. And before we begin tonight, we'd like to make first a couple special notes to the friends, the family, the alumni, and especially the coaches, who have helped us tremendously throughout this semester. And we couldn't be here with this incredible record without the support that we have received from all of you. So thank you. And so also, special thanks, of course, goes to our coach, Hal Stanford, who just a couple months ago was bragging to us how he had never taken a sick day in his career, but then immediately decided to detach his retina. So, you messed with karma, Hal. These are these things. So, we welcome you back, and thank you so much. We would also like to thank Mark Nelson and Susan Houlihan. So thank you. Give a round of applause to these coaches who have helped us out through this semester.
And finally, before we begin, we want to make a special note regarding the October 8th Tubbs fire that devastated our local communities. A couple of our members on the team lost their homes, and so many more were displaced during this time. And speaking from personal experience, I can say that this is one of the scariest and most traumatic things that I've ever had to encounter. But when everything around us seemed so dark, our community really came together, and the support that we got from the team was really incredible, and we really, truly are stronger together. So, last thing on that, in regards to tonight's debate, we chose to refrain from debating a topic that revolved around the fires out of respect for anyone that might have been affected or is still continuing to be affected by the fires. So we've chosen to refrain from that topic. The last note I'll make before we get started tonight is if you could please silence your cell phones, your pagers, your Tamagotchis. Just turn those all off now, and you can turn them back on. I know the Tamagotchis might die, but they're kind of old anyway.
On the way out.
For our fourth, oh wait,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah.
So, for our first speech of tonight will be our informative speech, and it will be given by Maya Lucas, a student from Sousa Houlihan's Speech 1A class, and will present you, of course, an informative speech. This speech is designed to educate and entertain you. So one of the most difficult pieces about writing an informative speech is obviously that, you know, you can get it a little dry, but we have faith. We have faith. So please give a warm welcome to Maya Lucas as our first speaker.
I'm Maya. I will be giving my speech about smoking, but don't get too excited, I know. Everyone's all ready. So if you were like me as a kid, you would go into a candy store and buy those bubblegum cigarettes with the lucky star on the front because this lucky star, because you wanted to reenact what you had seen in a movie.
Mic on.
I'm sorry, I'm not loud enough. I know. Everyone can't hear me. Is that better? Okay. Okay, hold on. Sorry about that. But these are the bubblegum cigarettes that I loved. Society has a way of portraying information to us, and it is our job to take in that information and be able to think and do what we will with it. Our opinions can be altered by the information that is given to us, and the tobacco industry had a very clever way of doing this, from the time of them first encouraging the use of their product to then kind of talking to us about their harmful repercussions that can happen. First, I will talk about the appearance of smoking in films, their subtle depiction in cartoons, and lastly, their evolvement through print advertising from decade to decade. Character development is extremely important in film, and for any actor that knows this, when you have an object in your hand, or when a director says, here's the cigarette, you take on the persona of that actor. Your perception of them changes. This can be seen as early as the silent film era in the early 1900s, when a man could be smoking at the table, reading his coffee, or reading his newspaper and drinking his coffee. UCSF states that in the 20s to 30s, the tobacco industry provided national advertisement for so many Hollywood films if their product was strategically placed in the production. Actors such as Bette Davis, Audrey Hepburn, and Clark Gable could be seen smoking as a way to depict their wealth, rebellion, strength, power, or celebration in any mood. The director liked to use a variety of traits to portray these characters in a different light. And the issue states that there is an association between sex appeal and charisma between the actor and the cigarette. In the 50s to 70s, with the invention of television, more homes started to be able to see these commercials, and companies started to give their products a different light, and the tobacco company switched their main perspective in films into television. Then, in the 70s, UCSF states that the United States actually banned all broadcast of tobacco on television. But when this happened, of course, the company said, okay, well, we'll just revert back to film. And this does happen, but you not only see the reintroduction of more tobacco in films in the 70s, you also see it in cartoons. And we all know classic cartoons, especially Saturday mornings, sleepy day in, and you wake up to Tom and Jerry, Popeye, and Bugs Bunny. But even then, tobacco companies were filtering in their products into our beloved animated characters. A child could wake up and see their favorite character strike a match, light the tobacco, and see a magical white puff appear. This was very clever. The Flintstones is another prime example of product placement. Of course, the Flintstones was in black and white, but I gave you a little bit more pizzazz. You see Fred Flintstone offering his wife a cigarette. This is Winston cigarette, and this gave the company a way to place their product for a child to see and say, when I grow up, I will smoke Winston. Or go tell their parents, Mom, Pop, the best product is Winston because the Flintstones do it. Made a lot of sense. Disney was one of the first companies to receive a cash exchange with the tobacco industry if the tobacco was placed in their production. And you can see this with Cruella de Vil, centrally puffing from her long-stemmed cigarette. And even the caterpillar in the Cat, not the Cat in the Hat, in Alice in Wonderland, blowing letters in Alice's face. Smoking looked normal, pretty, and cool to a child or an adult or anyone simply watching it. In an effort to warn people of the potential dangers and harmful effects of smoking, Disney in 1951 created an anti-smoking film featuring Goofy with addictive nicotine behaviors. But it is unknown whether the film reached all of the world and all the children watching Disney, or if it had really any effect on the mindset of kids, because it was only 10 minutes. You can watch it on YouTube and see how you like it. The National Center for Disease Prevention states that virtually all smoking happens before the age of 18, and that is especially seen in men born after 1950 and women born after 1960. Ads are in every form. They are in film, they are in cartoon, but the most popular ad was in catalog or magazine. And you see those beautiful pictures, you see the beautiful writing, you see the wonderful colors that the magazines tried to use, and you can go into any vintage shop and see them. But even then, the content did change over time, as it did in other forms of advertisement. Jeffrey Stein of American History states that just as in film, in magazines, they like to portray these young, healthy, vibrant, vigorous people to portray their product. It was extremely clever. That can be seen also in 1917 with the Lucky Star brand, with its famous slogan, "It's toasted," to help with throat protection in the winter. "It's toasted" simply refers to UV rays expelling those harsh biting irritants that are naturally present in any tobacco leaf, saying that it was healthier to smoke, it was better for you, it could give you a little more life. In the 1940s, however, facts began to surface through print advertisement, and the National Center for Disease Prevention and the American Cancer Society in 1944 tried to find a correlation between lung cancer and smoking, but it was so early in their process of statistics and evidence, they really couldn't find enough to have their hypothesis be correct or not. In the 1970s, remember when the United States banned the broadcast on television? In print advertisement, sex became a huge way to explain their product. And sex is a way that you can relate to both the man and the woman in any case. It appeals to both genders. It says when you have a spouse, you'll be more likely to, have fun and do whatever if you smoke my brand of cigarettes. So as you can see, the content that is given to us, the way that we perceive information in any form of advertisement can change. And that is especially seen with the tobacco industry, but you can see it with any company. I had a lot of fun when I was little with my bubblegum cigarettes, pretending I was one of the beautiful vintage actresses. But as I grew up, I realized that not all information that is given to us that we see is real. Some of it can be phony, as in films, do they really smoke? Some of it can be perceived differently. So with the tobacco industry, they're very clever and even still are clever. But just remember, try to determine whether something is real or something is fake. Thank you.
Taking that side?
Yeah. All right, everyone, let's give her another round of applause for Maya, please. So, if you've ever walked into a class and you had to give a presentation that you totally forgot about, and let's be real, because we've all been there, and you've ever had to give this presentation that you just did not prepare for,
Brownie points if you passed.
then the next event would be right up your alley, because an impromptu speech is all about lightning fast critical thinking skills. The competitors usually only get like 1 or 2 minutes after they've heard their topic to construct a speech and give it before a judge. So obviously there's a time pressure. And we're gonna be doing this exact same thing for you tonight. So we'd like to introduce you to your impromptu speaker for the night, Holly Pilling. You said nice. So right before we give Holly her topics, we're actually going to send her out of the room so she doesn't get to hear any of them. So bye, Holly.
Bye.
So just with an improv show, Holly will receive her topic from you guys. Be kind. And she'll have a few short minutes to create the
Please don't
speech
lock
you're
me
about
out.
to hear. So I will probe the audience for some topics. So can I get a noun from this side of the room?
I don't think that's a noun.
That's not a noun. This class is for you. That's not a noun. Anything. Noun. Hippopotamus. And I would like an adjective from this side of the room.
Funny, wet, hairy, chunky.
I heard Harry. I heard Harry. And from this side of the room, I would like emotion. So what? No, come on. Something else. That was easy. Easy pick.
Frustrated.
What? Oh, frustrated. Yeah, frustrated. Bring it, Holly. You got the...
Yeah. All right, everyone. So we're going to give Holly those 3 topics, and she's going to sit right in front of you, and she's got like 2 minutes to give a speech or to construct her speech. So we want to give her absolute silence during this. All right. We're going to start her timer.
Wait. Need to get my timer so I know what I'm doing.
We're not.
Perfect, ready?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
What even are you guys?
I ask myself the same question. So, I guess I'll just use this time to talk to myself, because you guys can't respond.
We doing that?
No.
Yeah,
30 seconds have elapsed.
We'll be telling you too, in case you won't. No. They might be interested.
I'm interested.
It's not really about them, it's about us. And that's 1 minute.
I like your shirt.
Oh, thanks. I don't like yours. I'm sorry. I like your shirt. Don't worry about it. .130 has elapsed. Hey. We can't stop him.
You really can't. Well, just know, we're judging you if you talk right now.
As you guys can possibly tell from my general appearance, I'm a Middle Eastern Mediterranean woman. I have a lot of background, well, half of my background exactly from that area. And that makes me a very hairy individual. As you can see, I've done my best to be professional today. I've put product in my hair, I've tied it back, slicked it back. There's who knows how many clips and different things holding my hair back. But hair in our culture is something that tends to be frowned upon if you're not a very standard sort of appearance and if it doesn't fit the standard stereotype of what a businesswoman should be. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, my hair and its influence. So as you can probably tell, the word that I've chosen is hairy. Thank you. First, I'll talk about cultural aspects and then I'll go into some of the preconceived notions and societal views about hair. And finally, a possible solution to the problem of this sort of juxtaposition of whether curly hair and frizzy hair is okay or not in the workplace and in society. So first, I'm going to take a look at the cultural impacts. This goes all the way back to, in America anyways, the times where there were people in slavery, particularly African American people in slavery, where kinks and coils in your hair were frowned upon. So African American women, and I would assume men as well, would pick out their hair or they would straighten their hair, do everything to fit the more standard norm of the white man or woman that they were trying to replicate. These were the people that were more respected in that society, so they were the people that people would try to change their appearance to emulate. So things like curly hair and kinks in your hair would not be accepted in that kind of a time. Now, where's that caused and where's that originate from or stem from? That's going to be these societal views and the stereotypes of the businesswoman. The businesswoman stereotype, incidentally enough, hasn't actually come up until fairly recently in our history, where women were allowed into the workplace after World War II, so the 1940s, where women became more common in the workplace and they're allowed into a field where previously it had been completely dominated by men. So now things like curly hair of people like myself need to have a place in the workplace. They need to be dealt with in some way. Usually, until very recently anyways, this would be by straightening. You straighten your hair, you're not accepted as someone who's proper. You get called things like bozo the clown, or people say that you're dirty or that you're somehow less than someone who has straight or just finely waved hair. But I say that there's a solution for this. That would be embracing your curls, embracing your waves, taking those billions of clips out of your hair, saying, this is my natural hair, this is how it behaves, and this is okay in the workplace. So I say today that you all should be comfortable with whatever hair was born on your head, whatever quantity you want to keep, whatever you'd like to cut off. I've had it short, I've had it down to here. Whatever you'd like to have on your head, however you'd like to cover it even. If you'd like to wear, of course, the hijab, which is something that's completely respectable. This should be a personal choice that should be respected in the workplace and respected in society. I'm not Bozo the Clown because of my hair. My intelligence is not brought down because of my hair. This is simply something that I've chosen to do with my appearance, and actually something for me that I was naturally born with. It looks a little bit funny, doesn't it? But this is the sort of thing that hopefully we can teach our kids and the people around us to respect. That you can have just as much respect for someone with the same mind in this hair as you could have for someone with pin straight hair. And however you'd like to wear your hair, straight, curly, curled, waved, however you'd like, it should be okay, it's respected. And I respect you for it. Thank you.
Again, do that again. Again, yes, yes.
I need it. Your mic, I need it.
As somebody who's also done impromptu, that was amazing. Wow.
So, the Santa Rosa team competes in a bunch of different events throughout the year, and so far tonight we've seen 2 really good individual events. But we're gonna switch pace here for a little bit, and we're gonna show you the only team event that you'll see throughout the entire night. Before you is going to be a parliamentary debate. This is a 2-on-2 debate that clashes together with prepared arguments and also last-minute critical thinking skills. As a debater that debates in this type of event, you only get about 20 minutes to actually know your topic, and then you have to go into the room before a judge and speak. So it can be kind of intimidating, but the debaters that you see before you are gonna be totally prepared, and they're gonna give us a rockin' show. Yeah.
So in preparation of debate tonight, we polled speech classes for a topic, and you all have spoken or have not spoken, but we chose something anyway. So read it.
So your resolution for tonight will be, the United States federal government should colonize Mars. Again, the United States federal government should colonize Mars. Agreeing with that statement is going to be your affirmative team. Your first affirmative speaker, if he'll raise his hand, is Matthew Eisen, and his partner, Elizabeth Kellogg. On the other side of the debate tonight, disagreeing with that resolution, your first affirmative speaker is going to be Nicholas Riley. And his partner, Ava Persinger.
Without further ado, my dudes, strap in your seats and get ready for blast off. Get down.
Oh, you just, okay, that works. That's way smarter than what I was gonna do.
This evening, we will be debating whether the United States should colonize Mars. My partner Elizabeth and I affirm the resolution. The United States should colonize Mars. First, we will introduce our plan. Then we will put forth 2 advantages of carrying out such a plan. You will be voting tonight on the plan that you feel most benefits the most people. Our plan is to develop and establish a mining colony on Mars, specifically a solar-powered, automated, rare earth element mining system. Rare elements are key to advancing technology, specifically green technology, which brings us to our first advantage. It's getting hot in here. The overwhelming majority of scientists agree global warming is happening and humans are a root cause. We are at the brink, at a tipping point beyond which, if we don't take drastic measures, as Stephen Hawking said, climate change becomes irreversible. Climate change is uniquely bad for the human species. Microbiologist Frank Fenner asserted that humans will be extinct within 100 years if we don't do anything about global warming and our diminishing resources. These 2 things are inextricably linked. In order to fight the effects of global warming, we need rare earth materials that are currently being depleted at increasingly fast rates. In 2011, the average price of rare earth metals shot up by as much as 750%. This is due to the depletion of these metals. These rare earth elements all play their part. Lithium is needed for, among many things, power storage for electric cars. Tellurium is key to making affordable solar panels. Neodymium is used in both wind turbines and electric engines. All of these work together to wean ourselves off of oil dependence that is creating climate change. When we begin establishing our colony, our mining colony on Mars, we will gain access not only to the rare earth elements on Mars, which will allow us to greatly increase the production of green technology, but the new technology itself will greatly increase the ability to mitigate climate change. The impacts of this can be seen through a metaphor. Consider the human body. We're considered sick when our core temperature rises above 1 degree Celsius above normal. The Earth reacts in a similar manner. Scientists agree. We are trying to keep climate change under 1.5 degrees Celsius, an increase of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Because after 2 degrees Celsius, Earth becomes uninhabitable for human beings. Not only that, but according to the Environmental Justice Foundation, over the next 40 years, there will be 150 million refugees due to climate change. Many of these refugees live in areas that will be displaced because they live so close to the ocean. Another thing that is so close to the ocean are our seaports, which we rely on for trade, which takes us to advantage 2, jobs. Look at what happened during the space race. Russia put Sputnik into orbit, a satellite that does nothing other than beep. But it lit a fire under the United States. We pumped trillions of dollars into the space race. Sputnik, a useless satellite, is the reason why we have advanced math and advanced science in school. We turned out engineers, scientists, mathematicians. We developed networking that led to the internet. We developed digital imagery that led to the selfie camera in your pockets. We put people on the moon with less technology than we have in our pockets now. When we develop this mining colony on Mars, we recreate the situation surrounding the moon race. We see the proliferation of STEM degrees and the massive influx of STEM jobs, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. With more people in STEM careers, we put ourselves into a unique situation to develop and implement climate mitigating technologies faster and more efficiently. Efficiency is obviously key when we are dealing with rare earth elements. The impacts of this are the same as our first advantage. We mitigate climate change. We do everything that we can now to mitigate climate change. Climate change is the single biggest issue we as humans are dealing with right now, and that is why you will vote affirmative. Thank you. I have 1:30 on the clock for cross-examination.
Alrighty. Mic on?
Yep.
Great. 1 minute, 30 seconds cross-examination starting now. So, Matthew, you've mentioned quite a bit about technologies that you would like to develop through this plan. Can you name any specific types of technology that will be developed?
Absolutely. As I said before, there are solar panels that can be made more efficient through the use of the rare earth minerals. And all of these rare earth minerals, which are being depleted right now, are available on Mars. And through that, not only will we further develop technology that we have now, but we will develop technology that we don't even know
Great. So I'm going to interrupt you because time is running out. But this doesn't sound like any new technology to me. This sounds like you're further developing existing technology. So I'm not so sure where you're going with this.
I am not as closed-minded as
but
that.
In addition, you've mentioned that this practice is unsustainable on Earth. So I'm wondering, why do you feel like moving the same mining practice that we're doing here on Earth, which you've admitted is unsustainable, will be sustainable on another planet?
Mining on Earth uses human beings, and we are specifically developing an automated mining system, so we don't have to put people through the rigors of mining, which is
Are
horrifying.
human beings a finite resource?
That's a really interesting question. Time.
Thank you. Alrighty, 7 minutes on the clock. Great, 7 minutes begins. Can everyone hear me? Great. All right, 7 minutes begins now. Tonight, my partner and I will be arguing the negative to the resolution. The United States federal government should not establish a colony on Mars. We will begin by addressing two very key disadvantages to this plan, and then the individual points within each disadvantage, followed by a quick refutation of why the affirmative team's arguments are incredibly insufficient and just really do not stand up. And I hope you will agree by the time I'm done with this. The first disadvantage, the first reason that the United States federal government should not establish a colony on Mars, is what we are entitling space militarization. China has recently launched a satellite called the Roaming Dragon. This satellite has a robotic arm that is capable of disarming other satellites that belong to other nations. In addition to this, another example, Russia has recently developed a missile that is specifically designed to take out other satellites. This missile is designed for the purpose of destroying satellites of other nations. Now, what will happen in a world where the affirmative team's plan passes is that there will be an escalation if the United States acts unilaterally, just like the Cold War. This will likely be a similar situation. We'd like to call it Cold War 2.0 if we can. But this time it's going to involve more nations than the United States and the USSR, because we see right now, already in the status quo, China and Russia, as I have already explained, are developing technologies that can be used militarily in space. We came so close to mutually assured destruction during the Cold War, more than once, plenty of times. And with the kind of military power and technology that would come out of promoting this type of plan that the affirmative team is proposing, by us militarizing space essentially, by sending these robotics into space in order to acquire this new type of technology, we would be even closer to this brink, to this disaster scenario. During the Cold War, if the USSR built one nuclear missile, the United States built 10. If the USSR made 100 tanks, we made 1,000. It was just tit for tat. It's going to be the exact same way in the scenario that the affirmative team is presenting. The uniqueness of Russia's missile example and China's satellite example that I've provided for you is that not only are these nations nervous, they're nervous about the United States militarizing space. They're not worried about one another. And we're not even doing the types of things that they're doing. Imagine if we gave them a reason to be nervous, like sending a mission to Mars. If we go through with the affirmative team's plan, it would, simply put, it would freak out Russia and China and put them into a situation where they feel that it is necessary to escalate and create as much new technology as possible to counter the United States. And that is my first disadvantage to their plan, but I'd like to move on to my second disadvantage, which is entitled resources, or even more simply, or I guess more appropriately, the affirmative team makes it worse, not better. So, look. This is what's going to happen.
Even if we are just going to get resources from Mars, we're going to experience what is essentially a mindset shift, because now we're going to be devoting what little resources we already have, as the affirmative team has admitted, and now we're going to be taking what little resources we have right now to maybe get resources down the road. Maybe. This promotes a type of what we like to call a get off the rock mentality, because rather than using NASA's incredibly large funding budget, billions of dollars, and capabilities that it already has, such as weather satellites, things that have been used to save millions of people in the status quo and combat climate change as is with existing technology, the affirmative team wants to use what little resources we currently have and gamble them all, rather than trying to solve and create a safe alternative here at home. And they're further promoting this unsustainable system. They've admitted that mining is unsustainable here on Earth. We're running out of resources by doing what we're doing now, and now they're saying that it's sustainable by moving to another planet and doing the exact same thing, and that's ludicrous. Now, some of my questions would be, number one, how are we using these tech resources that we already have in the status quo? How are we using them? What's happening is that they're being tossed away because oftentimes we can't reuse them. Then they're further contributing to pollution and further contributing to climate change in the world as we know it today. Now, my question is, does the affirmative team know how hard it is to dispose the car battery of a Prius? It's ridiculous. Even with the green technology that we have right now, the United States is already consuming more than we even know what to do with. The affirmative team has already conceded that the exploitation of resources here on Earth is unsustainable. So my question is, what makes them think that it will be sustainable by doing it on Mars? We can't continuously hop from one planet to the next for more resources. What happens when we run out of resources that, number one, they're not even sure are there, but also not sure if we can even get them? But what happens when we run out of resources on Mars? Human beings can't keep spreading across the universe, destroying one planet of another, or one planet to another of all of their resources like we're some kind of space Ebola. Now, lastly, how do we get these resources that they're claiming we can acquire back? How do we get them back? On the off chance that we even manage to get these resources in the first place, we are talking about shipping millions of tons of stuff. This is not FedEx. How is this even going to be possible? The rocket parts are often not reusable. This is incredibly damaging to the environment to begin with, further contributing to climate change by burning the fuel that they're suggesting we use. And resources have to be collected once they come back to Earth, and oftentimes they're pulled out of the ocean. Now, in my closing right now, I'd just like to offer a quick couple of comments regarding the argument that was just made before me. And the first of which is the affirmative team has said that the United States federal government will use this plan and establish a colony for resources. My question is, why will other countries believe that? Why should they believe that? The United States federal government does not have a proven track record of being honest on the international stage. And additionally, they have not offered any time frame for this plan. They've said that extinction is likely to happen within 100 years, and they've offered no explanation as to how long their plan will take, how long it'll take get these resources back to the United States in the first place. And so really, we have no reason to believe that their plan will work out logistically or really even make sense. Thank you. I have a minute and a half.
Hello. All right, so my first question for you is, how many roaming dragons are there right now?
That is unconfirmed. We know of one in existence for certain.
So one.
No, we know one in existence for certain.
So one. Okay, so next question. How many anti-satellite missiles are there within Russia?
Same answer. One confirmed. We're not entirely sure what they may or may not have afterwards.
Okay, so one. All right, so this whole planet hopping thing that you just brought forth, are you saying that the distance between Earth and Mars is the same as the distance between Earth and every other planet in the galaxy?
That would be your argument, not mine.
But you're the one who put forth the idea of planet hopping.
The idea of planet hopping is something that you are suggesting in your plan as is, moving from this planet to another planet.
So that's your speculation, all right. Let's see. Do I have any other questions for you? As far as efficiency goes with the waste that you mentioned, are you saying that it's not possible for us to have any technological innovations in order to prevent further waste with our technology?
No, I think you're misunderstanding my point. The point that I was attempting to make with that statement was that your partner has already conceded that we have very limited resources, and yet you're advocating that we use all of these resources and gamble them.
So are you saying that in the face of all humans dying in 100 years, guaranteed, we shouldn't try everything we can to prevent that from happening?
I'm saying that there are much more certain, much more probable, and much more safe ways to do just that.
All right, thank you. Let's see, here it is. Hello, can you all hear me all right? Okay, so I'm going to be starting off by telling you all the reasons why the lovely negation is completely wrong, and then I will be going on to tell you why you'll be voting for the affirmative by the end of this night. Time starting now. So starting with what the negation just brought forth to us. So what they're saying is that China has one roaming dragon, one, and Russia has one anti-satellite missile, which may work, may not work. We don't actually know if it's a functioning thing that's actually going to end the world and bring nuclear war and mutually assured destruction, but let's just put that idea out there. And then the roaming dragon, which also could easily just be a hunk of metal with a fake arm attached to it. So there are these two things that are existing right now that are apparently going to bring us all the way to mutually assured destruction, nuclear war, and decrease in foreign relations. However, with my tone of voice that I probably just gave you, I don't see this being very likely, because just because there is one roaming dragon and one anti-satellite missile out there, the negation is suggesting that we should just drop everything, not try, just throw it out the window. But that's not the case. We should still try, because as my partner has stated, within 100 years, there could easily be no more humans left alive on this planet. And with that in our faces, also the idea of diminishing resources, we should take every opportunity possible in order to make sure that we can continue to thrive on this planet. The negation also brought up the fact in their second point that with us going to Mars and getting all these resources, everybody's gonna just freak out. They're just gonna see us go up there and just lose their minds. However, when we come back and bring these resources to Earth, when we start using them for technology, this technology is not going to stay in the United States. This technology is going to spread across the world. Cell phones don't just exist here. Cell phones exist everywhere. So do laptops and all the other innovations that have happened with the research within NASA. So as we can see, once we start sharing these innovations, unless you're a conspiracy theorist who doesn't believe in the world being round or that people ever went to the moon, I mean, you're welcome to think that we never made it. But with that said, people aren't going to be believing that we're going up there just to create and destroy all humans colony. No, they're actually going to see all the resources that we bring back and see that this is something that is completely necessary in order to benefit humanity. Also, with their statement about planet hopping, it takes 9.5 years to get to Pluto. After that, to the nearest star, which is Proxima Centauri, it is 7,000 times farther. So I'm sorry for all of you Stargate, Star Wars, Star Trek nerds out there. This intergalactic travel and destroying all the planets in our path probably isn't going to happen anytime soon. And also with their statement saying, with their concerns about how we get these resources back, with tech innovations and the development in the technology that will be happening in this time, we'll be able to find more efficient ways and be able to find ways that make this transportation possible. Moving on to the reasons why you're going to be voting for the affirmative today. So some of the points that the other team has brought forth today is that there's no explanation as to how technology actually helps climate change. But it's really obvious in current day. We have hybrid cars, we have wind turbines, we have solar power. All of these things are technological advances that make it possible for us to fight climate change. So in that, you have all the evidence you have all the evidence you need to see that this technology is incredibly important. They also are saying that this is an expensive gamble, so we just shouldn't do it. But the other option is just to sit around with what we have going on right now and just waiting to die in 100 years. So with that said, we probably should take every chance we have in order to make sure that humans can continue to flourish on this planet, and also to find more ways to make sure that this planet will do the best that it can with what we have thrown at it. They also argued that we don't have a time frame, but I'm here to provide that for you. So there's a Dutch corporation, this is facts from theguardian.com, that are actually projecting that they'll be able to start their own Mars colony by 2023. So that's pretty close. And also NASA, they said with the proper funding, they'll be able to do this within 20 years. So this is definitely feasible. This is definitely happening. So the negation's worries about the time frame are completely irrelevant. We can throw that out the window. On to our second point as the affirmative. This is incredibly important for jobs. Sputnik started this fire, and now people are totally passionate about this idea of space travel, the innovations in technology. We have seen so many great pieces of technology, including heart defibrillators, coming out of the space race. This will be incredibly crucial to the development of jobs opportunities, because now more people will be moving into this field, and as more technology is being developed, there is going to be a need for more people to help this happen. We also will be aiming to create more efficiency in this technological advancement to make sure that we don't have the waste, that we aren't just throwing Prius batteries all over the place. We're actually going to be finding solutions to those problems. I also want to point out that this is a huge economic benefit for the world. For every dollar that NASA spends, $10 goes into the economy. Now, thebalance.com actually breaks this down for us. In 2005, they said that activities relating to space contributed $180 billion to the economy. Over 60% came from commercial goods, and space economy doesn't just include space. It also includes commercial space products, services, commercial infrastructure, and support industries. So as we can see, efforts made within NASA aren't just isolated to let's go to the moon. It extends across many other areas. So every dollar that is spent is a catalyst for a $10 economic benefit. So as we can see, these are all reasons for you to be voting for the affirmatives, because we shouldn't give up. We shouldn't just sit down and say, that's not such a great gamble, let's just sit and wait until we all die. No, the affirmative is here to make sure that that humanity continues to flourish on this planet. So these are the reasons why you will be voting for us today. Thank you.
All right, I have one question for the negation today. If a simple satellite can cause other countries fear, how do you think foreign countries will react when we send a bunch of robots to Mars and basically say, I swear they're just for mining?
First question for you, actually. Who exactly is scared?
Oh, well, usually when you militarize space, it decreases foreign relations.
But who exactly is doing that right now?
Well, the China's doing it with the roaming dragon, and if we do it, it will decrease our foreign relations with other countries.
Well, with all that said, I'll say that if we are completely honest and transparent with what we're doing and bringing back the necessary resources that are proven to improve technology, I have a pretty strong feeling that most people who aren't conspiracy theorists thinking that we're putting end-all humans colony out in space will think that we're actually doing good.
Oh yeah, because the United States would never use our superior technology to harm another country.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to first address the points that we made, and then I'm going to address the points that our opponents made. Starting now. If we use robots to needlessly colonize and take the resources of Mars, we run the risk of antagonizing other countries by implementing foreign technology into space, possibly leading to a so-called space Cold War. Yes, there is currently only one roaming dragon, but everything starts from something. At one point, there was only one nuclear bomb. When we ignore these threats, they only become bigger, which my opponents apparently can't see from their little bubble of American-centric thinking and everything's going to get better mentality. This will also cause space militarization. Even if we were going to gather these rare earth metals from Mars, which is highly unlikely, it would take a minimum of 14 months to even complete the transportation of the resources from Earth to Mars and back. Meanwhile, the affirmative is talking about entirely using up our much-needed resources to build robots, which eventually will just get thrown in the landfill anyway, as we have seen in the movie WALL-E. Where Earth is neglected and made into a wasteland while we live it up in other areas of space and we as humans abandon our quest to change Earth for the better. We have also seen this in many video games, including the video game Warframe, where we can see as soon as the conquest of one planet is completed, all we do is move on to the next, making us some kind of planet-hopping space Ebola, as my partner pointed out. Their mission will also produce rocket fuel, which not only would cost billions of dollars when the United States is already in debt, but it would literally increase the amount of carbon emissions produced by NASA already. Currently, rocket launches and creation of rocket fuel contribute from NASA to roughly 2% of the ozone depletion that can be contributed to human causes, and with more launches in the future, that number is only expected to rise. NASA themselves estimates that United States federal government space journeys have caused an upward of 500,000 pieces of space debris to be continually orbiting the planet. This number will increase, and NASA will add to global warming instead of using current technology to mitigate it on Earth. Instead of focusing on the gamble of possibly getting resources on Mars, we need to focus on mitigating climate change here on Earth, because both of our teams agree that global warming is bad. On to our points. On Mars, the environment is so incredibly cold that the only places even mineable are the volcanoes and the impact craters on Mars. It is highly unlikely that Mars will have any, if all, the rare earth metals that we will find on Earth. Because of the lack of microorganisms on Mars and the lack of water sources, most rare earth metals on Earth haven't even been discovered on Mars because they aren't there. On to the advantage of STEM, NASA will continue to create jobs in the STEM field whether we colonize Mars or not because of its billions of dollars in funding. It is also able to efficiently create green technology without colonizing Mars. The opponents have still not named what specific metals and technology they are going to create from those metals once we go to Mars to solve climate change, so we can simply assume that this is all speculation. And if we use NASA's funding to go to Mars instead of building the green tech needed to mitigate climate change, we are only hurting ourselves. If NASA is going to create solar-powered robots to search for rare earth metals, it would be much more probable to find earth metals here on Earth, because Earth has the guaranteed environmental conditions to do so. And that is why you're going to vote for the negative team today. Thank you.
I'm back. Alrighty, 4 minutes on the clock. Opponents good? Awesome. 4 minutes starts now. Tonight you have heard from both teams. The four of us have made our cases, and you've listened. The negative team, however, my partner and I, have made a case that is vastly superior. While our opponents have done little but kind of speculate on what they think may or may not work, possibly if we take a gamble somewhere in the future that might work eventually somehow. They've offered really no substantial arguments as to how their plan is really going to work and why it's worth attempting in the first place. And I'm going to tell you, the audience, why you will, not maybe, why you will be voting for the negative team tonight. The negative team has given you real dangers, real concerns, real disadvantages to the affirmative team's plan. And they've kind of just shrugged it off. The affirmative team has completely shrugged off the problem with militarizing space. They've simply said, oh, well, you know, China only made one of those satellites, and Russia only made one of those missiles. Number one, wrong. Number two, we do not know the number that they have, and they're already dangerous. Like my partner had already said, we started with one nuclear bomb. Right now, in the status quo, we have so many nuclear weapons that we cannot accurately calculate them. We have no way of knowing how many there are. We live in that kind of world, and we don't know what these things could do. Well, I mean, yeah, we do, but we don't know what would happen in the event that a bad actor, someone that we don't trust, were to get a hold of these things. Now, and I'd like to point out, they really haven't refuted this. They've simply said, oh, well, you know, it's only one, so it can't really be an issue. They haven't really offered an argument against why, or excuse me, they haven't really offered an argument to disagree with our point of militarization. Now, the resources argument is one that I found incredibly interesting, and you've seen us go back and forth on it tonight, and it's one that I'd like to touch on a little bit, because I want to explain to you in the simplest possible terms that I can what exactly it is that the affirmative team is suggesting we do, and just let me know if this makes sense to you. We're going to take what little resources we have, okay, stay with me. They've conceded that we only have a little bit of these resources, that we're running out of these resources, but they want to gamble all of them, in the chance that we might, maybe, possibly get more if we somehow, maybe, kind of, sort of, get into one of these impact craters or volcanoes on Mars, and maybe get some more that we can bring back here and use in the exact same manner that we're doing already, but somehow that's sustainable, even though it wasn't here on this planet. And I'd like to point out that their plan that they're claiming solves for climate change, which they cannot do, further contributes to climate change. They're wanting to make more rocket fuel and burn it up in the atmosphere as a way to gather more resources, which we do not know if they exist or not, in a way to create technology as a way to prevent the very harms that they're doing. This is absurd, to say the least. It really does not make sense, and I hope that the audience can at least agree with me on that much. I hope that you understand that what they're advocating for makes the current situation significantly worse than it already is. They're advocating a plan that puts the entire world, not just the United States, at risk. They're advocating a plan that endangers not only you and I, but people on the other side of the world, because they want to take a gamble with what we currently have in the hopes that, you know, maybe it works out in the future. Thank you. $130.
So, space militarization. Interesting concept. Do you believe we landed on the moon?
I do.
Do you believe we live on a spherical globe?
I do, in fact.
Do you believe in life after love?
I plead the fifth.
So, do you remember what we discussed when we talked about technology developed during the space race?
Might I ask specifically
it was
what you're
flat
referring
screen
to?
TV, cell phones, heart defibrillators, all
Yes,
this cool
yes, I do.
stuff.
Yep.
Did that stuff stay in the United States?
No, it didn't.
Okay, thank you. The whole world benefited. Check.
Cool.
Do you know the percentage of Mars that is covered in volcanoes and craters?
No, actually,
It's a lot. Is there any reason we wouldn't be able to use this technology back on Earth?
Well, in just addressing the comment that you've just made, my answer to which is you claim that we've benefited globally from this, and to which I offer the suggestion that if you claim that we've benefited globally from this technology, then that means that we've also suffered because of the military tech that has been created globally.
So instead of developing
Just to be logically
technology to automate mining, you're arguing that we should stay here and continue to exploit human beings to mine rare earth elements that are being depleted
That's
right
incorrect. You're arguing for that with your plan by suggesting we do the same thing on another planet.
now? No, you missed that it was automated.
Who builds these robots?
Other robots?
That's all the time we have.
Thank you, Nick. All right. I'm going to make this very simple. Space militarism is not an issue. One aggressive satellite, one anti-satellite missile shouldn't stop us from advancing our technology to mitigate climate change. This is a try or die situation. And what the negative has been arguing this entire debate is that we should sit here and wait and continue to fight climate change with the finite resources that we have here on Earth. As we have shown, that's not possible. The rare earth elements needed for green technology are becoming more scarce by the minute. Under the negations plan, we may be able to develop new technology to mitigate climate change, but the resources in order to ensure the proliferation of this technology will be gone. And the human species will go extinct when we can no longer produce the technology to mitigate climate change. Under the affirmatives plan, we will develop technology to mitigate the effects of climate change, and we will ensure that we have the resources to continue to do so. The affirmatives plan solves the problem not only of depleting resources, ensuring that we have the resources to develop more green tech, but that we actually have the resources to make sure that we can continue to fight climate change. As we have shown, the advantages of our plan compound one another. A, we get new technology to fight climate change, and we get the resources to create that new technology. B, we attract more people into STEM-related careers, which in turn enhance and advance our technology to fight climate change. Not only that, but as my partner explained, for every $1 that is spent on NASA, $10 are added to the United States economy. Our plan betters people's lives not only by mitigating the effects of climate change, but by putting money into the pockets of working Americans. The time to act is now. Climate change is real, and the effects are devastating. If we wait, or if we limit ourselves, like the negation argues, to this earth and ignore the fact that we are depleting the resources needed to develop climate mitigating technology, the human species will go extinct in 100 years. You must vote for the affirmative to ensure that we explore every option, to ensure that we develop new green technology, and to ensure we have the resources in regards to both people and rare earth elements to produce the technology to fight climate change. A vote for negation is a vote for extinction. Nobody wants human extinction. Maybe the negative does. Vote affirmative, otherwise you are condemning our species to a drawn-out, devastating, dehumanizing demise. Thank you.
All right, please give a huge round of applause to our debaters. So we want to hear from you guys out there. If you agree, or based on what you heard tonight, if you agree with the affirmative and you want to send Wally to Mars, please clap your hands. And if you agreed with the negative and you think that we're all just gonna die, please also clap your hands. All right, so it's like pretty much 50-50, right?
Oh, I heard we're not doing a Mark Wahlberg. I heard.
Wait,
I did the joke. Just run, man. Just run.
You know that was Matt Damon, right?
Oh, same difference.
Okay, please, another round of applause for our debaters as they exit. You've ruined it. Hey, thanks.
Ooh.
So the first speech you heard tonight, if you'll remember, was an informative speech, and that was designed to educate and also to entertain you. And the next kind of speech that you'll hear is really, really similar. But this speech is slightly different because it's going to try to motivate you. It's going to try to push you as the audience towards a certain action, or it's going to try to change your mind.
He's here to put the fam back in Oxfam. Performing his persuasive speech, please welcome another member of Susan's speech class 1A, Yazid Hamami. Woo!
Yeah, I got it. Can everyone hear me well? All right. So today I'm here to discuss charity with you guys, specifically one charity, Oxfam International, and how we can use it to become better people. Not me, everyone else. We're all looking to be better people, right? One of the best ways to do that is by having a positive impact on someone else's life. And one of the easiest ways to help other people out, indirectly or directly, is through charity. There are many different charities with many different purposes and messages. But the one I'm here to discuss today, Oxfam International, named after a shortening of its original name, the Oxford Committee for Famine Relief, has the express purpose of ending poverty for everyone, a cause I believe we can all get behind. Oxfam's central message is to get people out of poverty and to challenge laws and practices that keep people in poverty. And they make it easy to participate and to donate to their cause. To show you how beneficial Oxfam is as an organization, I'll discuss the need first for a charity where donations can be followed and corruption can be avoided, how Oxfam directly contributes to the cause and uses donations wisely, and the humanitarian successes that they've had in the past and today. Many people are looking to donate to charity, but aren't sure often where to go or which ones can be trusted for that matter. According to Charity Navigator, a charity rating website, in 2016 alone, nearly $400 billion were donated to charities of all types. Most of these were made by individuals like you and me and in small amounts, showing that people really do want to help out in any way that they're able to, whether it be through pennies or dollars. But unfortunately, in the past, multiple major charities have been found of using donations unwisely and unfairly and sending funds up to the higher-ups. And according to a report by Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, the American Red Cross during the Haiti earthquake relief efforts was found to be using nearly 25% of donations on their own expenses, which was a lot higher than they actually reported. Just as well, according to a CBS investigative report, the Wounded Warrior Project, I'm sure many of you have heard of it, a charity designed to help veterans get necessary services and help, has been accused multiple times by former employees of using donations on lavish, unnecessary items like parties and getaways for their bosses, and they were actually found to be using only 60% of their donations on real veteran services. It's hurtful, I know. As a result of a lot of these cases, many people feel mistrustful of charity because they're not sure if it's going to go to the people who need it and would benefit most from it, or the people already making the most money. Many people are also uninspired often by a charity's message, feeling unsupportive and ultimately not backing a charity's main philosophies and central driving force. This is where Oxfam could come in to alleviate a lot of the problems experienced by other charities. Oxfam's central message is to get people out of poverty and to challenge laws that keep people poor. They do this by working with communities to find long-lasting economic solutions and challenging those in power who are passing laws and using practices that keep poor people poor. They also make it easy to participate in their cause. With their gift-giving program, you can send necessary items to a family in need, like farming or shelter supplies, or even a goat. Really anything that they need that they couldn't get on their own. You can also donate once or regularly to Oxfam goals and projects, all in the name of fighting poverty. Oxfam is also extremely reputable as a charity. In the past, they've been recommended extremely highly with an emphasis on accountability and transparency, and they've also been rated very well by multiple charity rating organizations, like the previously mentioned Charity Navigator and Charity Watchdog. Now, lastly, I'll discuss the humanitarian successes that Oxfam has had in the past. You can trust that all your dollars will go to poverty programs. Oxfam's central message from the very beginning has been using funds to find long-lasting economic solutions to poverty and working with communities to find those solutions. They're also prepared to campaign for more opportunities that would create social and economic equality. In the past, they have helped out for fair trade opportunities for coffee bean farmers and have funded studies into income inequality and the effects it has. They have also assisted during natural disasters and those affected by them. In the past, they've helped out during North Korean famines, droughts in several African regions, and in civil conflicts against unjust governments. So with all that, donating to Oxfam once or regularly can really benefit those in need. You can trust that they avoid corruption, unlike some other charities, that they will use your donations and dollars wisely, and that they have had humanitarian successes both in the past, today, and will continue to in the future. So next time you're able to, consider donating to Oxfam, because anything, a penny, a dollar, no matter how small, can help someone in need. Thank you.
So thank you one more time to Yazid. And the final performance of tonight will be a prose. A prose is a performance of piece of literature or short story, and this one will be a dark retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Give a warm welcome to Ian Nevin.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Is this on? Can you hear me? You in the back, can you hear me? All right, good. Thank you, Orange Chat. I like your style. All right. I'll just wait for you guys to stop laughing. This isn't a serious thing. Flee, mortal man! The monster roared, flapping his paws. I'll devour you, tear you to pieces. But the Witcher didn't move, didn't lower his sword. Are you deaf? Away with you! Clear off, one still in one piece. Otherwise, You'll what? Interrupted the Witcher. The monster looked like a werewolf clothed in a tunic and pants, with hair and muscle bursting at the seams. Look at him. Isn't he brave? Look, that iron, if you please. Or maybe it's customary, wherever you come from, to threaten people with swords in their own courtyards. It is customary. When faced with men who greet their guests with a cry and a roar, they're going to tear you to pieces. Pox on it! Let's look me on top of it all. This straggler, why are you here? My horse is thirsty, and so am I, if that does not inconvenience you. Listen, you, are you really not frightened of me? Should I be? Pox on it! What's the harm of a guest? I welcome you into my home. I thank you. I will not slight the right of hospitality. Geralt of Rivia is a witcher, a merciless assassin, a cunning sorcerer, and a cold-blooded killer. His sole purpose, to destroy the monsters that plague this world. Taken from home at an early age, he was placed at the witcher school known as Caer Moren, where he was tortured and mutated to become a witcher, who is a curse breaker, protector, and monster slayer. In this dark retelling of Beauty and the Beast, we see that not everything monstrous looking is evil, and not everything fair is good. And in every fairy tale, there lies the grain of truth. The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, translated by Danusia Stock. What's that necklace you have on? A wolf baring his fangs. It's the symbol of my guild. You must make muzzles. Come, do sit down at the table. I forgot, you're not timid. What shall I call you? Geralt, and your name, dear host. Develin, but they call me Dengen or Fanga around here, and they use me to frighten the children. Nostrovia, Geralt. Surely, if I must ask, what you are? A witcher. And if I remember rightly, witchers earn their coin in an interesting fashion by killing monsters. But you are not a monster, Nevelin. Pox! That's something new! So what am I, Geralt? Cranberry pudding? Please, do tell me what I am. You wouldn't be able to touch these silver goblets or my medallion if you were indeed a monster. Now, I'm going to be told I grew these ears. I didn't eat my milky porridge when I was a child. You were cursed, and I think you know who cursed you. How did you wind up like this? I was young at the time, 12 years ago, with my lads in a crew. I'll spare you the details, but one day, we decided to rob a temple near Mert in Gebel, and a young priestess was there too. Which temple? It was a bad one. There were skulls and bones on the altar, and lads found the priestess, and she spat in my face and screamed that I was a monster in human skin, and that I'd be a monster in monster's skin for desecrating her sacred temple. Something about love and blood. Then she pulled a dagger out of her hair and killed herself. Days later, I wound up like this, alone and afraid. All my servants, my friends, all gone. And now, I look like a wolf. I'm lonely here, Geralt. I'm distraught. And you, as a witcher, you can uncast spells, isn't that right? You know, of all the temples in Gebli and the Nimmar Valley, you chose the church of Coram Agterra, the lion-headed spider. In order to lift the curse, you need knowledge and powers I do not possess. And who does? I do not know. Maybe love will lift the curse. You, Nevedin, don't live alone here now, do you? I saw a young woman on my way here. You mean Verena? What's the harm in her, Geralt? She isn't another attempt to find some grain of truth in an old folk fairy tale. It's serious. We love each other. And if you dare laugh, I'll suck you one. Your Verena is the reason I came. She's a monster, a Rasopka. But I must leave. I thank you for your hospitality until we see each other again. I suspected as much, but Verena and I... Pox on it. Take care, get out. Don't kill her. Weeks later, Geralt decided to return and see Nivellen. But as he approached the manor, he heard singing coming from a nearby fountain. As Geralt approached, the singing stopped abruptly. She was clinging to the back of the fountain. The woman had black hair and wore a loose white dress. As he drew closer, he saw that her lips were drenched in blood. He drew the sword over his right shoulder. It's silver. This blade is silver. Now I understand you, Nivellen, indeed. What a beautiful couple you'd make. A monster and a vampire, rulers of your forest castle. You, eternally thirsty for blood, and he, your guardian, a murderer for service. But you must make him a monster first, not some human in a monster's mask. You're going to warp his mind. Where is he? You were singing, which means you've drunk some blood. What are you? Are you a mullah? She shook her head. An Alpor? Denial. Which means... You're Bruxa, the Witcher shouted, taking cover behind a fountain after slashing her left breast with his blade. The Witcher growled. The cut, which should have sundered the beast in two, had been a scratch. She screamed, knocking him backward. Shout, vampire! Scream your guts out! Lose your strength, then I'll slash your pretty little head off. You will be the first to grow weak, sorcerer. I will kill you. The Brux's lips didn't move, but the Witcher heard her words clearly. We shall see. I will kill you. I will kill you. Verena! No! Nivellen roared, stumbling out of a doorframe. He had a hand clutching his neck, soaked in blood. Nivellen ran forward and forced a sharp, broken end of a 3-meter-long pole between her breasts. She didn't shout, only sighed. Mine or nobody's, Nivellen. I love you. I love you. Geralt watched as the Bruxa moved further along the pole and stretched her arms out closer toward Nivellen to pull him in. Nivellen fell to the ground, aching and twitching in pain. His muscles were attracting into his body, and a young, handsome man stood from where Nivellen had been. Geralt? How come? Marina? How did this happen? Geralt? Get up. I've got some medicine in my saddlebag. What happened, Geralt? How am I human? Love and blood both possess a mighty power. Wizards and learned men have been racking their brains around this for centuries, but they haven't arrived except anything that. That what, Geralt? It has to be true love. It has to be true love.
Another hand for Ian. Another hand for Ian. That was great.
And let's give one more round of applause for everyone else that you saw perform tonight.
Personally, I'm enamored by the British voice. But thank you all for coming out tonight and supporting us. This night contributes a lot of our funding that we get so we can go to our tournaments and do most of the things that we do, which is really cool. So thank you very much. Give yourself a round of applause. Now it is my pleasure to beckon Hal back. Wherever Hal is Hal. Hey. Take it.
It's all yours.
Okay, we'll get you out of here quickly, but I do again want to thank you and your instructors that support our team with your participation. I hope you had a good time tonight. One of the reasons I love speech and debate is, as you can see, we've got men and women doing it, both heightening their critical thinking powers as well as their ability to deal with challenges that arise in the course of the season's travels. I certainly encourage all of you, if you have any questions about joining the speech and debate team, to contact me, Hal Sanford, in my little office at the corner of the new temporary Quonset huts, temporary meaning we're going to be there 6 years, temporary Quonset huts, and give me a talk too. We've only got one half of our current number one ranked team, but I'd like you to at least give a round of applause and acknowledge her. McKenna, please stand up. She's fierce. All righty. Now, there are going to be sheets on the glass with your instructor and their class section. You put your names on those. I will make sure that they get in their boxes before they teach tomorrow. And they'll be then able to register your extra credit. So for example, if you're in Mark Nelson's Speech 3 class, let's hear it for Mark Nelson. Yeah. Write your little name under Mark Nelson's Speech 3A class. If you're in my class, write your name. Yeah, do that too, and the rest of them. All right, again, I want to thank you very much for your participation. Support speech and debate. And even if you never end up on a team, always stand up for yourselves. Good night, have a good evening. Goodbye.
Oh, yes, thank you.